guiding you round the bend? Petrol, diesel, CO2, PCPs, purchase, lease, contract hire, fleet management? So many things to think about. Lease a Fleet First car and we'll do the thinking for you. So think first. Call or visit us first at fleetfirst.ie. Order now for January 1st. Call 1850-353-383 or visit fleetfirst.ie. Fleet First Contract Hire. Operating in association with LeasePlan Fleet Management.
Lakeside walks, cozy fires, and affordable luxury. Treat yourself to a New Year break at the Lee Russell Hotel, County Cowon. Avail of the January and February bedroom split and get 2 nights B&B plus 1 dinner for €129 per person sharing midweek or €139 per person sharing on weekends. Terms and conditions apply. Book now. Call 049 9526 or visit our website leerussell.ie.
Welcome back. Now, I'm afraid we're almost out of time. But Alan Kramer, these battles and the German reaction and the German involvement, what did this mean for the Germans?
The final two battles are first the spring offensive, the March, April, May, last-ditch attempt by the Germans to drive the British back across the Channel and defeat the Allies before the Americans could arrive in any serious numbers. And they did indeed succeed in driving a huge hole through the British lines, but they didn't succeed strategically. So Ypres was once again fought over in spring 1918, and then during the massive Allied counteroffensive, of course, which finished the war and ended with the Allied victory, the Germans are now on the defensive in October, November 1918, and there's once again massive fighting. The British are and the Allies are firing huge amounts of shells and gas grenades. And the Germans now at this stage are thoroughly demoralized. There are already signs of serious demoralization at the time of 3rd Ypres, 1 year before that. 9 German units, regiments, or entire divisions have registered signs of disobedience, even desertion. But now, in 1918, it's far more. It's probably up to 1 million men who are disobeying orders, deserting, or simply not going up to the front line. And one of the effects is that, of course, the Allies push further and further towards German lines and into Belgian territory. And in one of the final battles, in fact, Hitler is injured by a British gas grenade and is temporarily blinded. And this forms a famous scene, of course, in his book Mein Kampf, in which he is sent into hospital in Germany, north of Berlin. In fact, the secret medical records were, and it seems that it wasn't actually a truly ophthalmological injury, a physical injury. He was suffering from hysterical blindness and was being treated by a psychiatrist. And that was kept very secret, of course, during the Nazi dictatorship. A hysterical disease is considered unmanly, so it couldn't be admitted. But this was the foundation of a famous scene in which Hitler describes in Mein Kampf that when he heard of the revolution on the 9th of November 1918, he suddenly had a relapse and he couldn't see anymore. He went back into the hospital, buried his head in his pillows, and decided now he was going to turn to politics.
John, we began by talking about how this has become a site of memory and the commemoration ceremonies every year and all of that, and it really is a very powerful place, especially for the British and the Canadians.
That's right. It continues to symbolize that, but I think picking up on Mark Jones's point, one of the interesting ways in which, as we in Ireland renegotiate our relationship with the Great War, how that's also beginning to become the case with us too. And again, if we just think about 3rd Ypres, first of all, those attacks, the mining battles, which were the prelude to 3rd Ypres, that's when the 16th and the 36th divisions, for the first and only time in the war, fight alongside each other. And I think it's one could almost say that it's like the parallel blood sacrifice to that in Dublin during the Rising the year before. Willie Redmond, the brother of John Redmond, is killed there, having claimed that what he's fighting for is self-government, just as in the case of Canada and Australia.
Okay, well, I'm afraid we do have to leave it there. powerful note on which to end it. My thanks to John Horn, Peter Simpkins, Mark Jones and Alan Kramer. We'll be back with more after the news.
Steel Tech Sheds presents The Three Little Sheds. Once upon a time in the West, there were three little sheds. The first shed, wood. But a big bad winter storm huffed and puffed and blew that shed down. The second shed was made of rusty old metal. But the big bad winter storm huffed and puffed and blew that shed down too. But the third shed was built by Steel Tech. The storm huffed and puffed and huffed and puffed, but couldn't blow it down. Get a Steel Tech shed today with no maintenance and a lifetime guarantee. It just makes sense. See steeltechsheds.ie to find your nearest branch. You talk with you.
It's 8 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Michelle McMullen. A group representing older people has defended random checks on those claiming the widow's pension. Age Action Ireland says the Department of Social Welfare is entitled to investigate all claims as they try to clamp down on fraud. The issue of inspections was raised in the Dáil during the week when politicians discussed a woman whose pension was mistakenly stopped. Media reports from earlier today claim the Social Protection Minister, Joe Burton, has now defended the random checks. And Age Action's Eamon Timmins says it's important welfare is only paid to those who actually need it.
Age Action would never support anybody who's fraudulently receiving any social welfare payment, whether it's a pension, a widow's pension, free travel pass. So the state is fully entitled to investigate that. And we would always urge older people to cooperate and to help the state in any investigation to make sure that the scarce resources that are there for social welfare payments go to people who are entitled to those.
The Syrian government will allow women and children to leave the besieged rebel-held town of Homs. UN mediator Lakhdar Brahimi says he had hoped to secure an agreement to let humanitarian aid into the city. He announced the deal following peace talks in Geneva between the Syrian regime and opposition groups.
Women and children in the old are welcome to leave immediately, and the other civilians are also welcome to leave, but the government needs a list of their names first.
The chairman of the Public Accounts Committee has admitted there were tensions among members last week. It follows a call from independent TD Shane Ross for rehab to be brought before the committee to answer questions about its accounts. Deputy Ross also wants the Garda whistleblowers to appear before a public sitting of the PAC without clearing it with other members. Committee Chairman John McGuinness says there are always tensions when there are differing opinions in any group.
Shane Ross wanted to invite in rehab and he wanted it done immediately. That was his opinion. All of the other members decided that.
Strong to gale force winds and severe gusts, rain or hail at times, and snow showers in places later. Lowest temperatures of between 1 and 4 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Well, welcome back to Talking History, and lots of text still coming in on 53106 about our discussion about the battles of Ypres. And we did try and cram as much as we could into that hour. So we had to race through the 5 battles, but I think we got a good sense of what it meant for the Germans and what it meant for the French and the Canadians and the Irish. And of course, over the next few years, we'll be doing a lot on the First World War and the various events of 100 years ago. I suppose become part of this decade of commemorations. Pat in Dublin has been listening to the show since we began, so that's back in 2006, and he was fascinated by this discussion, and he was on work experience in France 20 years ago, and he visited the monument to Canadian troops at Vimy Ridge, where there's a section of trenches preserved along with the shell craters, and he says it was a very sobering experience. So I'm afraid my panel is gone, so I'm not able to ask him about that, but Pat, we must return to that some other time. John in Meath really enjoyed the programme tonight and wants to thank the production and background staff, so thanks a million, John, for that. And Peter in County Louth is not impressed by the mention of German atrocities in the First World War. He wants to hear all about the British atrocities at Ypres and elsewhere to balance things up. Thanks a million for that. And Phil in Killucan says that Hill 16 in Crook Park was first called Hill 60 from a hill at Ypres, the first battle of Ypres during the First World War, at Ypres during the First World War. Phil, that's very interesting indeed.